Hello, Brigadiers and Brigadettes and hockey fans alike. This is your captain speaking. Welcome to my channel. Now let's jump into some hockey content. Hello everyone, welcome, happy Thursday. As you can see, I know it may be controversial to some, but I've got my Canucks hat on with the Orca, which apparently is racist, etc. I know that's been some controversy the past few days, but guess what? It was tweeted by a white professor, and lately, the past few days, has rolled in. I hit this. The past few days, it's rolled in that First Nations is completely fine with us using the logo, and they feel that it's too cartoonish to even be considered like their art. So, I'm expecting that to roll over. I'm in a good mood about that. So, no, it's not racist, because First Nations said it wasn't. So, that white guy can shut up. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about our 3 questions today for the Edmonton Oilers. Number 1, now hear me out before I say this and you get mad, especially Oilers fans. Let's understand, I'm not saying this is a for sure thing, I'm just saying this is a possibility. Number 1, is Connor McDavid getting fed up with Edmonton? Like I said, before you start commenting, I'm an idiot, or that I don't know what I'm talking about, just listen, please. Obviously, McDavid is getting the bag. He's getting paid well in Edmonton. And the team did have a nice bounce back year. That's true. They bounced back. They made the qualifying round. But could a down year this year for the next few years cause him to want to leave? Well, let's take a look at the Oilers since McDavid was drafted there. 2015-16, 31-43-8, 70 points, 7th place, worst in their division. They got the 4th overall pick. 2016-17, 47-26-9, 103 points, 2nd place in their division, 22nd overall pick. Let me tell you, that was a fun year for the Oilers to watch them play, I'm not going to lie. 2017-18, but the Oilers had a 36-40-6 record, 78 points, 6th place in their division, the 10th overall pick. 2018-19, 35-38-9, 79 points, 7th place in their division, and then they got the 8th overall pick. And then 2019-20, a nice bounce back year, at least in the regular season. I'm going to move this a little bit. Let's see how that goes. They finished, like I said, 37-25-9, 83 points, 2nd place in the division, actually tied with Vegas, I believe, and then 14th overall pick is what they got. Now, I don't know if you want to include this past season as them making the playoffs, because they did lose in the qualifying round. If you're an Oilers fan, I'm going to guess that you do want to count that as them making the playoffs. But if not, McDavid has only been in the playoffs one time in 5 seasons. And I kind of feel bad for him and Eichel, especially Eichel. But I think things are hopefully turning around for him. Probably not this year with the division they're in, but, maybe next year. But these guys, these top 2 picks from that 2015 draft are just not having a lot of luck. Ironically, the one time that they did absolutely make the playoffs in everyone's eyes, they almost made it to the conference finals. The Oilers were tied 2-2 in that series, heading into Game 5 of the second round versus Anaheim, and they were up 3-0 with 3 minutes and 16 seconds left to go in the game. I was actually watching that game with my best friend, and we just were in awe because the Ducks scored 3 goals in that time remaining. Rickard Rakell scored with 15 seconds left to force OT. And as we know, Corey Perry scored in double OT, and the Ducks would win the series in 7 games. If the Oilers don't collapse in Game 5, I do think they would have beaten the Ducks to go on to the conference finals, and I think they would have had a good chance going up against Nashville, meaning we could have had a Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid Stanley Cup Finals. That would have been insane. I do think the Penguins would have won it. However, that would have been big time for the NHL. The ratings probably would have been through the roof. Because it would have been, obviously, a Canadian team as well that's in the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, fun fact, Pekka Rinne's stat line in Pittsburgh was 0-3, 5.40 goals against average, and a .756 save percentage. Luckily, for Oilers fans, I do think the fact that Pittsburgh lost to Montreal takes some of the heat off of them. And as long as they're competitive, I think they'll be okay. I just can't see McDavid wanting to leave Edmonton unless maybe the next year or two they're just completely out of it. So I think the chances are low unless they are just bottom feeders for the next 2 years. Now, my second question is, can Edmonton make the playoffs this year? I'm not sure how the playoffs are going to work, but let's just say it's normally how it typically is. The 3 top teams in the division make the playoffs. Obviously, this year is different because it will be an all-Canadian division consisting of Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and Winnipeg. Out of those 7 teams, 6 of them made the qualifying round last year. And besides Montreal, the other 5 teams, I think, were in the thick of things for a playoff berth. Obviously, this is a very tough division, but I do think as long as McDavid and Draisaitl are healthy, the Oilers do have a decent shot at making the playoffs, as long as they can keep the puck out of their own net. My biggest concern for them is their defensive game. They were 17th in the league for goals against. I know that they know how to score goals, I do understand that, but they have to deal with the Maple Leafs, the Canucks, which were 3rd and 8th in the league for goals for, while also dealing with the Canadiens, the Jets, both of which who look like they could, score more goals this year. The Jets should be top 10 in offense, if I'm being honest. I think they'll have a bounce back year. You can't forget Calgary either. I mean, come on. I do think it'll be an uphill battle for the top 3 teams in the division, but if you only need to be a top 3 team in the division, then you only have to be better than the 3 teams out of the 6 if you exclude Ottawa. I don't know, maybe they could go on a crazy run with Murray and Stützle, or Stützle as some people call him. I don't know, I don't think they should though. I'm not sure if the Oilers will make the playoffs, but if they aren't at least contending for a top 3 spot, there should probably be some concerns about this team. And then my third and final question. By the way, the Oilers had so many juicy questions, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I could have probably wrote 10 questions for the Oilers, but I limited myself. And the final one, for some reason Pro Hockey Reference has his name as a weird way, but whenever I hear broadcasters talk about it, it sounds completely different. Can Kailer Yamamoto produce like he did last season? Now, Kailer Yamamoto was the first round pick for the Oilers in 2017, and let's be honest, he hasn't really received a lot of opportunities with the Oilers going into last season. Kailer only played 26 games before last season and tallied 5 points in that time. 1 goal and 4 assists, good for .19 points per game. So it was nothing that really blew you away. You weren't going to say, wow, this guy is the future of this team. We are going to be stacked and loaded. The Oilers are loaded up for the future. Then he got to play 27 games for the Oilers last year and put on a show, as he had 26 points, 11 goals, 15 assists in that time, good for .96 points per game. I do expect some regression from Yamamoto, since last year was insane, but he's going to produce at a decent rate, I do think. I think the biggest problem is this team isn't exactly loaded with point producers outside of McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent-Hopkins. Last year Zach Kassian and Oscar Klefbom were 4th on the team. They were tied 4th with 34 points apiece. With Klefbom recovering from shoulder surgery, Kyler's going to have to produce offensively for this team because defensively, they're not exactly great, but I think they could be worse than last year. And it's a tough division, and so it doesn't help that they're going to have to divvy up the minutes that Klefbom normally would suffer through. He was first on the team excluding goalies with average time on ice, which came in at 25 minutes and 25 seconds a game. He was a workhorse. You could rely on him on the blue line all the time. Now, Kyler has shown he can put up points at a consistent level, and I think expecting 0.7 points per game out of him would be huge. And I think until Klefbom comes back, this team's going to need to have him scoring, because I do think, again, they're going to struggle to keep the puck out of their own end of their net. Now, if he averages 0.7 points per game, that is going to be, in a 56-game season, that's going to be about 39 points on the season. At the end of the day, him, McDavid, Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, they're going to have to produce offensively, like I said, because I think until Klefbom comes back, if he's able to come back, you never know with shoulder injuries, then they could really have some issues with this team. But I do think that they should be contending for a playoff spot. There's absolutely no reason they shouldn't with this group. It is concerning. I think there's some holes on this team that need to be addressed. But, you've got McDavid, you got Draisaitl, you're probably good to go, at least be contending for it. So anyway, that's going to wrap up the video for this. I thank everybody for listening. Thank you. We got to 1,000 views on my reverse retro unboxing. I thank you. I appreciate it a lot. We're at 56 subscribers. Hopefully it goes up by the time this video gets uploaded. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Have a great Thursday. I will see you Sunday, and stay safe from COVID. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes, and hockey fans in general. This is your captain signing off. Have a great week.